And can you see my screen?
I can.
Perfect. Hello, my name is Mary Elbert, and I'm an implementation specialist with Brown & Brown. We are the broker on behalf of your group. And what that means for you guys is that you do have an account management team that is here for you pre-enrollment, post-enrollment. If you do have questions throughout this upcoming coverage period, you have an account management team that is dedicated to you. Now, your enrollment is passive, and what that means is that if you're currently happy with your benefits, they will be rolling over into this upcoming coverage period. Your coverage period will begin January 1st, 2024, and run throughout the duration of next year. However, it is a really good time to get into Paylocity to review the benefits that you do have elected, because this is your opportunity to make any changes. Your enrollment window opened yesterday, which is December 4th, and will close December 15th. So it's going to be a good opportunity to get in to Paylocity to make any changes if needed. Oh, we have someone joining us. Now, this page does just include some information as to the steps that you'll go through in that enrollment checklist. This is a wonderful benefit that you have available to you with being an employee of the orthopedic clinic. So if you haven't already done this and signed up for this benefit hub, this includes a lot of different discounts that you can take advantage of. So if you haven't registered, the details and to how to register, I'm going to zoom in so you can see it, will be listed here in your benefit guide. Now, if you're an active full-time employee who's working more than 30 hours a week, you'll be eligible to sign up for benefits. Like I mentioned, your new enrollment period will begin January 1st. It's going to be important that once December 15th, once your enrollment window closes, you will not be able to make any changes with your benefits throughout the coverage period. However, if you do experience a qualifying life event, and those are going to be listed on the next page, marriage, divorce, birth, or adoption of a child, it's real important to reach out to your HR team within 30 days of the event to see if coverage can be changed. Now, you have this third-party administrator. That's a wonderful thing to have access to throughout the year. This is through Meritain. I highly recommend creating a member portal. By creating a member portal with Meritain, all of your information is housed in one area. If you do file a claim throughout the course of the year, you can track the status of that claim. If you need replacement ID cards, you can find those readily available in your member portal, as well as how to find those in-network providers and facilities. If we take a deeper look here, those are some of the benefits, like I mentioned, that you'll have access to. Another thing that's real important to note, if you can see some of the examples listed here, if you do have a procedure scheduled, you can speak to a Meritain, a healthcare Blue Book representative that will be able to go through your coverage more detailed so that there aren't any surprises. So like I mentioned down here, creating that member portal, and we're going to talk a lot today, or I'm going to talk a lot today about the importance of staying in network. So this is going to be the place where you can find all of that information. So create that member portal. Now, one of the benefits that you do have available to you if you sign up for medical is taking advantage of Teladoc. Now, I'm going to skip ahead to say, I want you to register, but the registration is actually going to come on the next page. So I just want to mention that. Now, if you haven't taken advantage of virtual care, there's many benefits to doing so. Of course, you know your body best as to when this would be something you might want to seek out. If you're traveling, it's the middle of the night. Teladoc is a really wonderful setup that you would be connected with a licensed health professional within a matter of 15 minutes or less. And if they deem it medically necessary, they can even write you a prescription through using this service. Now, one of the things I want to highlight is, I'm going to zoom in here, where it says $47. Now, that's going to be $47 if you are signing up. I'm going to show you 3 medical plans. It's going to be a $47 copay if you sign up for the core plan or the buy-up plan. It's actually $49 if you sign up for the HSA plan. Now, these directions here, I'm going to encourage everyone to do this. I would encourage you to set up an account for Teladoc now, because if it's the middle of the night or you're traveling and you're not feeling good, that is not going to be the time that you want to fumble through and try to set this account up. So I really encourage you having it set up so that if you need it, it's ready to go. The reason I'm highlighting this page is this would be the specific website that you're going to visit to set that account up. Real important. In fact, I'm going to highlight it so that you can see where I'm at. It's a little small, but be sure to use the same email address you have on file with Paylocity. When you're registering, if you put that email address in, it's going to find you so that you'll be ready to go. And of course, there's a portal, there's a phone number listed here as well. Now you have 3 medical plans that are being offered to you. I'm going to take you through this first plan, this HSA plan, which is also referred to as a high deductible plan, because if you elect this particular plan, there's going to be an opportunity to create a health savings account. Now, the most important thing, I mentioned Meritain is your third-party administrator, which means that is something that's put in place to support you. Your insurance is through Aetna. I'm going to start off by saying this. If you call a doctor and you're trying to find, if this doctor is someone that you can seek out for service, I would not call the doctor and say, I have Aetna, do you take my insurance? Okay, why would you not say that? Because the moment you step out of your network, and your network's specific name is Aetna Choice, POS2, you can read it right here. It's the Open Access Network. Once you step out of the network, I will explain that you will have coverage, but it is going to be for a higher cost. So I just want you to know the difference as to what your in-network cost would look like versus your out-of-network. So if you're trying to lower those out-of-pocket expenses and to maximize this plan, what you want to do when seeking out care is to ask a provider or a facility, are you in the Aetna Choice POS Open Access Network? That's going to be the way to maximize the plan as to how I'm going to explain it. So there's going to be really 2 different ways you'll pay for a service. You are either going to see something that says deductible plus coinsurance, or you're going to see something that says copay. Now, this is a high deductible plan, health savings account, so most of the services say deductible plus coinsurance. So what does that mean? Let's pretend you sign up for this plan and you go for an office visit. If you are going in network in this open access Aetna network, that doctor is going to charge you a reduced, negotiated, contracted rate for that service. Anytime you seek out care, and this is going to be applicable to the other 2 plans that I'll go over as well. Anytime you see a service that has deductible plus coinsurance on it, you're going to pay that reduced, negotiated, contracted rate when staying in service. When you make payment for those services, it all goes into the same spot. And I'm going to zoom in here so you can see this. It goes into I'll call it a bucket of money called your deductible bucket. So you can see up here that if you sign up employee only, that bucket of money could hold $1,500 of your money. The number below is if you add dependents. Now, some people never meet their deductible, and that's fine. Throughout your health journey next year, you might not meet your deductible. If you seek out service and you hit or meet your deductible, that $1,500 if you're employee only, you knock that wall down. You then go on to phase 2. Phase 2 is coinsurance. Coinsurance is a cost sharing between you and the insurance company. So let's say you've hit your deductible, and I always use the employee only as an example, of course. If you have dependents, you'll look at that lower number. But if you hit that deductible, and let's say you seek out urgent care, okay, now you're still being offered that negotiated reduced contracted rate if you're staying in the open access network. Now you only pay 20% of that bill. Aetna is paying 80%. So it's never really good to get to your coinsurance because you're out of pocket. But do know that if you get to that phase, you're out of now what you're spending has significantly lowered. Now, your third phase, your worst case scenario, is your out of pocket maximum. And again, this top example is employee only. If you are out of pocket for health covered services when staying in the open access network, employee only, of $4,000, you hit that amount. Health covered services thereafter when staying in network would be covered at 100%. Now, of course, the bottom number reflects a family. Again, it's never good to be out that much money, but it's also, I should say, good to know that if you have those types of health covered services, once you hit that when staying in network, it will be covered at 100%. So that is how anything that tracks deductible and coinsurance all goes through that progress. I think that's the order that goes through. Now, another thing you would pay, the only other thing really you would pay if you don't have deductible plus coinsurance is going to be a straight copay. You're only going to see one service because this is a high deductible plan. But I told you about Teladoc. If you are on this plan and you utilize the Teladoc service, you're going to be responsible for a flat copay. A copay is a fixed flat dollar amount that you are expected to pay at the time of service. I always say imagine it's like a ticket to go back to see the doctor. When you make a copay, that does not track toward your deductible. The copay tracks towards that out-of-pocket maximum. So your out-of-pocket maximum bucket includes all your health covered service bills when staying in network. Now, let's talk about the out of network. So the nice thing is that this is a PPO, which means you have in network and some out of network coverage. I just like to explain the difference though. The younger version of me used to think, I have in and out of network coverage. I can go wherever I want. Now, there's some truth to it, but remember when I said that doctor that might take the insurance but might be out of the open access network? If the doctor takes the insurance but is not in the network, any money that you're tracking towards your deductible or your out of pocket starts over at zero. So those buckets are not combined amounts. In addition, I'll highlight here, I'm just doing the employee only, you can see these buckets are much larger. It is quite expensive to fill your in-network bucket and your out-of-network bucket. In addition, those out-of-network doctors and facilities do not offer that reduced negotiated contracted rate. So oftentimes they're going to charge you more for those services, and you are responsible to make that balanced billing. Now, I do always say this. The good thing is that if it's in your medical best interest, you will have that coverage to some degree out of network, but just know it's for a higher cost. So when you can stay in network, that's going to be the best thing to maximize this plan. Where do you find those in-network providers? You want to hop on over to Meritain and create that member portal because that's going to be, really important. In addition, again, calling the doctor and making sure they're in this open access network. Now, one thing that's really important, and this is going to be true on all three medical plans being offered to you, your wellness exams, your annual physical, which includes your annual blood work, any preventative screening that is appropriate for your age and gender will be covered at 100% when you stay in network. I advise when you make that appointment to use that terminology, annual physical, so it's coded correctly and you wouldn't be billed. Now, if you do go into that annual physical, start talking about your knee or your shoulder, it would be billed as an office visit. So this is for your checkup, which I would encourage you minimally to make sure you're seeking out. Now, you do have prescription drug coverage on this plan, and you'll see there's different tiers as to the medication and how it falls under. The way it works is you would go onto your Meritain, your health network portal, and there should be a pharmacy tab. You type in the medication, and it places it into a tier. Now, if you can't find it on Meritain's health site, you would be able to find this through Aetna's site. Depending on what tier it falls under would be what you're responsible for paying. Now, if it's in your medical best interest to seek out generic, that sometimes lowers your cost. But the way this plan works, because it's a high deductible plan, an HSA, that health savings account, anything that's out of pocket first would be tracking towards that deductible. If you hit that deductible, then you're going to be into the co-insurance phase. But the nice thing is this is all going towards that out-of-pocket maximum. Where you have that prescription filled is also important. Now, one of the things I want to note, and I will here in a few moments leading up, is this specialty medication, but we're going to get to that in just a moment. Now, this is your health savings account. Some benefits of a health savings account. You're going to have an opportunity, if you sign up for this plan that I just went over, to open up a health savings account. Health savings account, let's say you make $40,000 a year and you want to contribute money. You don't have to put $1,000 into it, but I'm just going to use that number as an example. Let's say over the course of the year, you want to have money taken out of your paycheck and you want to contribute into a savings account, a health savings account. Now, your taxable income is only $39,000. That's your first big savings. In addition, you have this money coming out of your paycheck, and let me zoom in here because this is super important, and it's not being taxed. So imagine you have $1,000. You can do 500, you can do 100. There is a maximum that you can put in. But let's say you have this money taken out of your paycheck, put into the savings account, it's not being taxed. So I'm sure you can calculate the savings right there. So you might think, wait a minute, I want to use this money. It's my money. I want to use it. You can use your money for eligible medical, dental, vision expenses. You can use it on yourself, your spouse, or your dependents if they're on another medical plan. So this is your money to use. Let's talk about some logistics here. You might think, oof, I want to have this money taken out of my paycheck, put in a savings account, because what is an eligible medical, dental, or vision expense? If you were to go onto the computer and type in IRS publication 502, sounds kind of fancy. It's not, because all it does is it'll show you this very comprehensive list as to what is considered an eligible expense. Anything from the doctor visit to glasses to going to the dentist, sunscreen, even if it's a certain SPF. The range of what you can use your money for is quite wide. The other benefit to a HSA or a health savings account is you don't have to hurry up and use it by the end of the year. The money rolls over year after year after year. And if you were to decide to retire or leave orthopedic clinic, this money goes with you. So how do you set this up? You would get a form, okay, from your HR team, complete it, and decide, what the amount is that you want to contribute, and then submit it back to your HR team. Now, I do have notes here. If you are submitting this back, you want to make sure you have a color copy of your driver's license or state ID. Turn that into your HR team. Your money, your health savings account, would be set up through Seacoast Bank. And I believe down here is important because you would receive a debit card. Now, you can see the contribution limits are listed here as well. One thing that is kind of unique, because not all employers offer this, and I'm just going to read it so there's no miscommunication. If you are a new enrollee and you have not signed up for this HSA account in the past, look at this. Employee-only HSA accounts will receive $500 from your employer. It's free money. That's remarkable. Okay. Now, if you're signing up dependents, look at this. Your employer is going to contribute $1,000 into this HSA. That's amazing. Now, down here, now it's prorated if you're joining late. If you are already enrolled for next year, they're still going to make a contribution, but for employee only, it's $250, and dependents would be $500. Now that's amazing because a lot of employers don't actually do that. And there's that publication 502. So this is all benefits to signing up for the first plan. Now you are being offered 2 more plans, same thing. This is your open access. You can see the name of the network, very important. Same thing. If you go out of network, you're going to experience that same thing I just explained. Everything on this plan works the same. Anything deductible and coinsurance tracks towards the deductible. If you hit it, you go into coinsurance, happens to be the same percentage, and then the out-of-pocket maximum. One thing I do want to note is there are more services on this page that have copay. Some people love that. Some people love copay plans because they know exactly what to pay or expect to pay when they seek out that service. There's a bit of a savings on this teledoc. It's $2 less. When you see something like this, zoom in here so you can see it. Emergency room, the way this works, you might think, wait, that looks a little different. And you're right. Deductible and coinsurance we talked about, copay I talked about. This is on these plans, you would have a little bit of both. You have to pay a per occurrence for emergency room and then that deductible plus coinsurance. Now, the prescriptions work a little differently. Same on the sense that same in the sense that it's in tiers, but these are flat copays. So you don't have to meet that deductible prior to making a flat copay, which the first plan was once you reached your deductible, you had to pay coinsurance, but this is just a flat copay. Ways to save money, talk to your doctor, generic, or if you have that monthly medication, getting it in a 90-day supply. Now I'll pause here because I'm sure you know what you're looking for. These are the premiums on your bi-weekly deductions. Now I really like this down here because this is actually worthy of a zoom, because ways to save money. Let's pretend you're on that first plan, that HSA plan, and you receive a medication or prescription. Now, whether it's monthly or that one-off prescription, maybe you're not feeling good and you need to get a prescription filled and you have to meet that deductible. There are programs out there called GoodRx and Single Care, and I've utilized this service before. If you get a prescription, my daughters and I were on my medical plan years ago, you type in the name of the medication. I went from, it was going to cost over $80 using our medical insurance, and I used GoodRx, it took it down to $13. GoodRx and Single Care are free websites. Sometimes it's a way to save money when picking up your prescription. Now, if you take advantage of GoodRx or Single Care or these flat discount rate programs, you can see them listed. Walmart has some, Publix, a lot of pharmacies offer that. That does not track towards your deductible and your out of pocket, but it very well might just save you money. So we like to share that. So important right here. In-network lab, know where your in-network is, okay? All that information can be found on that member portal. And then we talked about Teladoc, of course. This is a review of what I just went over. So one thing I like to note down here is create a roadmap. If you're not feeling good, you have Teladoc, you have your doctor's visits, those are always going to be at your lower cost. If you have to seek out urgent care, make sure you go to an in-network facility. And it's also good to know those in-network hospitals, just in case, heaven forbid, you need to go. and that would be at your highest cost, of course. Now, if you have a specialty drug that you are prescribed, it's going to be real important that you take the time. You can pause this video. There's a phone number. This would be through Prudent RX. Okay, so this is something that goes through. It really is a wonderful benefit that is in your plan specific, because if you can kind of drop down here, specialty drugs can be quite expensive. But when you go through this system, it's going to lower those expenses to you. So if this applies to you, I'd pause the visit video so that you can get in contact with an advocate that would help you. Now you do have dental coverage. You have two plans that I'm going to go over with you. Actually, you have three plans. So let's go ahead and dive right into that. Now, this first plan is, the network is Solstice. This is a DHMO. So what does that mean? Solstice DHMO. This, you'll see, I'm going to go down the list that you can kind of read it even before I get to it. A lot of services are going to be at a much lower cost. You can see routine exams, cleanings, and certain x-rays. Another thing that is listed here is just flat rates for services. The one thing that even Solstice themselves will tell you, you can go up here, you can look on this website or call. The thing about a DHMO, great coverage, more narrow of a network. So we always like to tell members, if you have a dentist that you love, make sure there's a dentist that you would be able to go to as a participating provider on this plan. Okay, so this has a more narrow network. There is adult and child orthodontic coverage on this, so that's good to know. So the way this plan works is the price that you see was what you would pay for these services, for these coverages, but again, more of a narrow network. Now, in comparison, this as well, this is through Principal. Now, this one has in-network, out-of-network. I'll go right to those out-of-network. It's going to run very similarly to how I explained the medical. In-network, in the Principal network specifically, when you stay in-network, it's going to be, they're offering you those reduced contracted rates. So there's a benefit to trying to stay in network when you can. Now, let's skip ahead to some things. This one works a little bit differently. You're given two options, a low one and a high one. This has a little bit larger of a network. Principal has a larger network, so you'd have more providers to choose from. If you seek out preventative procedures such as routine exams, teeth cleaning, and certain x-rays, you would not pay a deductible. And the plan covers you at 100% when staying in network. Now, if you need a filling, which is a basic procedure, or anything listed down here in major procedures, it says deductible applies, but good news, yours is $0. So you don't have to pay anything there. Then the plan you would pays on this low plan, so you don't have a deductible, you get the bill for, let's say, a filling. The plan pays 80% of those allowable charges, you pay 20%. On this high plan, it pays more. Now, this plan will pay, and this plan will pay up to $1,000. So what that means is each member on your plan, let's say you sign up with your two children, each person on the plan has $1,000 of a benefit that would be used to pay those claims. So that is how that works. Okay, so that's how all that works. You don't pay a deductible, but the plan would cover you at a certain percentage. Now, this particular difference than the one before is only includes child orthodontics. Now, there's a really good benefit here that, again, a lot of plans don't have. So I'm going to read this to you. If you are on this plan now, there are some catches in the sense that you have to be on this plan for a year in order for some of this money right here, this $1,000, typically in a year, start in January, you go to the dentist. If you don't use all that $1,000 of a benefit, you lose it. That's how most dental plans work. It resets in January, the following January. Your plan has a little bit of a rollover. and that's unique. So how does it work? Your plan can cover you for $1,000. If you go to the dentist at least once, you do have to file a claim, and you do not use more than that $1,000, so you use less, some of that money rolls over to the following year. So now I do have the details up of that, but here's what you need to know. This is automatic. So you don't have to really track this, but it's almost just like an added bonus. So that's a wonderful part of that would be on these two plans, not the first one. So we're going to keep moving on. You are being offered vision coverage as well. In the network's name, its principal is the carrier, but the name of your network is VSP. Now, at Brown and Brown, many months ago, about 5 months ago, we had an eye doctor that came and spoke to us and shared something with me that I didn't know, not with me, but with us. When you have your eyes examined, they can see more about your overall health than just your vision. They can see if you're pre-diabetic, high cholesterol, high blood pressure. There's a list of diseases that they can see if you have just by looking at your eye. I did not know that. I'm not a salesperson. I don't make any commission off of these lines of coverage. I am a teacher. So I love to share that information because I do think there is a good benefit to getting your eyes examined. Now, when you stay in this VSP network and you have your eyes examined, it's going to be a flat copay. If you need lenses, flat copay, as well as contacts, just a flat copay. Now, you are eligible for that exam. Lenses are, if you need, every 12 months. So the way it works is, let's say you go February 1st for that eye doctor's appointment, you're going to be eligible for that next exam the following February. It's actually 2nd. So it's 12 months plus 1 day. And then frames, if you need frames, you're eligible for new frames every 24 months. Now, if you look over here, this is real important. If you need contacts, they're going to give you an allowance. And if you need frames, they're going to give you an allowance. All vision insurance, this is true of. You cannot use your vision or your eyeglass benefit and your contact benefit in the same year. You'd have to alternate those. Here's a short story that I think will illustrate a point. I recently had my eyes examined. I as well have the VSP network. I went to my in-network doctor, made my copay. I had that prescription. I was in the Blue Mall, went into Lens Crafters because they were having a sale, $50 off, and they were giving me all these coupons. These exact glasses, now, make sure your VSP works the same. I'm only speaking on behalf of my insurance. These glasses were over $500. I said, oof, are you in my network? They were not. I went over to VisionWorks, which is in my VSP network, $133 for my glasses. Why do I share that story? Because where you go to even have your materials filled, your glasses, your contacts, the frames, always start with that in-network facility, because this plan, you will maximize it and get more benefit versus if you go out of network. They just give you money, a little bit here, a little bit there. Now, will a Walmart or a Target be at a lower cost for you? Possibly, but always start with those in-network facilities, which can be found by visiting, I believe the website was listed on the page prior, but it's Principal's website. Your network is VSP. So you can just go into Principal's website and find that. And this is the cost that it would be coming out of your paycheck. Now you are being offered basic life, and I'm going to zoom in here, and accidental death and dismemberment coverage through Principal. That's who it's through, and this is being offered to you at no cost. So Orthopedic Clinic does cover this cost for you. Heaven forbid something happened to you, they would pay a benefit of $15,000 to someone that you've designated as a beneficiary. It's going to be real important. This rule. Enrollment is passive. Your window closes December 15th. However, You can update your beneficiary information throughout the course of the year. You can have one person as your beneficiary, or you could have three, as long as it totals to be 100%. In addition, you could have a secondary beneficiary, someone that would receive that benefit, heaven forbid, if something happened to your primary beneficiary. So this is not costing you anything. Now, in addition, you are being given the opportunity to purchase voluntary or additional life insurance. Some notes on this. You can purchase voluntary life insurance if you want more in increments of $10,000 up to the guarantee issue. And I'm going to explain what that means. Now, let's pretend you're listening to this recording and you've declined this benefit in the past. If you've declined it and you want to elect new coverage, you might be asked to complete an EOI. All that means is evidence of insurability. It's a medical questionnaire. Now, if you want to add, let's say you've had this benefit and you want to add an increment of $10,000. If you add 2 increments, so say $20,000, you would have to fill out that EOI. The way your plan is set up is if you have coverage and you want to add just 1 increment of $10,000, you won't have to complete that medical questionnaire. But the system might very well flag you through Paylocity, but we just always like folks to know that. Now, if you go past this guaranteed issue, $100,000, you will be asked to complete that medical questionnaire. Now, if you purchase it on yourself, you're given the opportunity to purchase it on your spouse. Same thing with that EOI, that medical questionnaire. You might have to fill one out for your spouse, but you can purchase voluntary life insurance on your spouse in increments of $5,000. Same thing, up to a certain amount. Now, your spouse or your domestic partner cannot have more than 50% of your coverage. So what that means is, let's say you wanted to elect $30,000 voluntary life insurance on yourself, they could not have more than $15,000. Now, children as well, you can cover them in different increments. It's listed down here. If you have 1 child or 3 children, it's going to be 1 premium coming out of your paycheck. Now, as well, on this page, you'll want to make sure you have your beneficiary information put into the system. Now, you are being offered short and long-term disability. This is paycheck protection. If you become sick or injured and you can't work, these policies could potentially pay. Now, before we get into what your plan looks like, I'm going to read this to you because it's important. If you did not elect short-term disability previously, means you declined it, you can sign up for it, but you're going to be completing that evidence of insurability, just that medical questionnaire. The same thing applies to long-term if you declined that in the past. And of course, if you're new, you won't be required to do that if you want to elect that. Now, short-term disability, I'm going to zoom in because that's kind of small, is if it's an eligible claim, would pay 60% of your weekly earnings the 8th day following an eligible accident or illness. The most you can receive is $1,500 a week. You can be on this short-term disability policy for up to 12 weeks. Now, there is a pre-existing clause that if it's something that's been pre-existing that you've been treated for, could potentially not be covered. Now, the underwriters at Principal are the ones that determine that, and also the calculations. Now, long-term disability would pick up in theory where short-term leaves off. This pays you 60% of your monthly earnings. Of course, you can see the maximum there. You can be on this long-term disability for up to 2 years if you're disabled in your own occupation. Now, more information on that pre-existing, I'll zoom out. You could pause the video and you could read a little bit about it down here. Now, another benefit that you're being offered is something through MetLife. It shows you what you would pay per pay period. There is a long list of different matters, legal matters, and fraudulent protection as well that this plan would cover you on. The way it works is you pay that flat rate per pay period. And if you zoom in, and hopefully just kind of scroll slowly. If you see something that you think would be that you would need legal support on, whether it's traffic violations, living wills, um, along with other types of legal doc prep services, this could be a service that you'd want to take advantage of. There's a website listed here, and they would be the ones that would get you set up if you elect this coverage. Now, another thing that goes with that is going to be on the next page, which is that fraudulent identity monitoring and fraudulent protection. So this is a hot topic. I do a lot of open enrollments, and I hear lots of stories of folks that do sign up for this particular, not your specific, but these types of plans, because it does provide a lot of support. Now, some additional services that I would absolutely take a minute to, whether I'm taking a picture of this or not, you do have travel assistance. You can see if you're traveling and you need some assistance, this would be something that could possibly benefit you. Here's that will and legal doc prep service that you actually have access to. This is something down here that I think is really important. You do have an employee assistance program through Principal. There's a phone number here, website with an access code. An employee assistance program, I would really encourage everyone with your group to look into this service to see if there's something that you could benefit from, whether it's work-life balance, legal consultation, financial consultation. A lot of time these EAPs have embedded discounts in them. And I always encourage members to look at this to see if it's something they could take advantage of. Now, if you do take advantage of this particular service, it is confidential. So your employer, your leaders, no one at work would know that. So it might be something you that might be able to support you. Now this, if you're having trouble registering or navigating through your web benefits, I did mention this enrollment was passive and rolling over. However, if you are just signing up for the first time, this would be a real good time to pause the video so that you can read through these steps into how that would help you. Now, these are your key players. Direct contact lines and websites listed here. You do have a team at Brown & Brown, an amazing account management team. So if you do need any support, of course, your team here at Brown & Brown is available to you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to thank everybody. I'm not going away, but for sake of our recording, I'm going to stop recording now.